What's on, where and when.
It's the Talk of Nelson.
Talk Nelson Radio.
Welcome to episode 1 of Your Health, where we talk about health, fitness and well-being. I'm Chris Butler, and joining me at the moment is Suzanne Spencer. Nice to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
On today's show, we're going to talk about getting started on the path to health and well-being. But before we do that, Suzanne, you're a personal trainer and you have your own business, Suze for Fitness.
Yep.
Can you tell me a bit about your journey in getting into this area?
Well, I've always been into sport. I've played it since I was about 6, netball and volleyball and cricket and football and tennis and everything. So, and I think when I was about 20, I wanted to get into personal training, but kind of life happened and didn't kind of get into that way. But so I went into IT, as you do, and then I became a tennis coach, and I kind of just got the opportunity to roll into personal training through some friends that owned a gym. So I was very lucky in that respect, and now I just love what I do. It's not a job. It's fun.
and so it's something you've kind of always thought about doing.
I have, but the opportunities just didn't arise for training and all that sort of stuff back then. So I had the opportunity to get into it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a bit of backstory. You're my personal trainer.
I am.
And I guess one of the things that, because I've also played in the past a lot of sport, but when life happens and work happens and family, it gets harder and harder and harder, and especially when the body isn't keeping up with the ambition. And in my case, I let a lot of that stuff go. So... and I was also diagnosed with a blood condition. So I had it in my mind that I needed to do something. I was feeling like crap. I was really tired. I was really stressed. And now I've got this blood condition thing that I've got to handle. And we met each other through business. And so I asked you the question, how can you help me get on this path? Mm-hmm. And so one of the subjects I thought we'd talk about in episode 1 is getting started. So when you're talking to clients, what's some of the conversations that you tend to have with people around just getting a start into fitness, health and well-being?
Well, I think some of it is just stepping in the door and having a chat to someone. I mean, it doesn't have to be straight off the bat a whole lifestyle upheaval. I mean, if you just start exercising a little bit every day or a little bit every second day, things start to snowball after that. I often mention to people about exercising first, and then as we get in, we talk about food and that, unless you want to talk about it straight away. But it kind of tends to happen. You kind of start getting on this, you're exercising, and so you sort of think, maybe I should not eat that chocolate biscuit. I'll make a healthier choice. And, it kind of just happens that way.
So exercise, sometimes you think, well, that's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hassle, I haven't got the time, that kind of stuff. When you're talking about someone getting started, well, what are say if, in my case, it was just really getting moving, what are some of the kinds of things that you get people to start off with?
I get them to commit to doing something, and often either that's a personal training session with me or getting out and moving for a little bit every day. And
so what would that be? Is it a walk? Or?
Yeah, it could just be a walk. I mean, we sort of look at what you're doing now, because some people might be getting out there and going for a walk once or twice a week. Yeah. And I sort of say, okay, well, can you increase that to 2-3 times a week?
Yeah.
I like to say to people to at least get some sunshine if we have got some in the sky,
yes.
At least for 10 minutes every day.
Yeah. And
so that kind of just pushes people to start getting more active and getting out on their bike and walking and running and whatever they need to do.
Right. And so so if you are motivated and that starts to happen and you say, actually, this is not so bad and I'm finding the time and I want to up the ante, then we're starting to look at how we get into more regular exercise. Mm-hmm. How do you assess what someone needs?
I assess by looking at their goals. So we talk about what their goals might want to be, and some people what they need and also what they want. They can be different things, but we try and compromise between the two.
Yeah, like I want to play for Manchester United, but
Exactly.
that's probably not going to happen. Yeah. Okay, so we've tried to get those needs sorted, and then we're getting into some sort of exercise routine. But I remember with you and me, the first start was, let's see how you can move and how much flexibility you've got.
Yeah, I do an assessment with everyone based around the movement patterns that you do. I mean, lunge, squat, your core, how strong it is, front and back, your sides of your body with side planks and things, and just to see where you are, because often we are quite imbalanced, and then that's what can cause injuries once we start moving. So, and we also do a bit of a cardio test as well to see what how strong you are and what your heart rate, what your endurance is like. And that kind of gives you a benchmark as to where you're sitting now, and then we reassess, or, just as we progress, looking at how much you're improving, and if we've set you a program or whatever and things aren't quite getting where they need to be, then we'll adjust it so we can, work with it as we go through.
Yeah, and obviously there's parts of the body that work very well, but there's other parts that old injuries or it might be arthritis, it might be all sorts of things. So we've got to try and decide how we're going to work around those things. Is that right, or improve them?
Yeah, no, and sometimes it's trial and error. I mean, you might set out a program to give to someone, and it might just work out that doesn't work for them, or they're not comfortable trying that. Even if you're not comfortable trying it, I won't even put it in. You don't have to do it. And you start off slow. I don't want to blast you straight away. It's really important to find out where your comfort levels are and where we can push. And it's often getting to know the client or getting to know the person as well themselves, and seeing what they are comfortable with doing. Because there's nothing worse than turning up and not wanting to do what you're doing. If you know, and also knowing that you're going towards a goal. It's not just I'm throwing exercises at you, here, go do this, do that, do this, for no reason. It's actually a specific reason why we've got that in there.
Yeah. So then once you get into the routine, it's about keeping that up. And for me, that was up and down, I could say, at the start. It was. I was nagging. You were right there. You could see it all. And so that was falling back into old habits around the pressures of life and work and other things going on, and saying, well, I'll do a workout tonight, but I'm too tired, and I'll do it in the morning, I never got there, and excuse after excuse.
But I guess it's also about finding your rhythm. Like, some people will say, I'm going to get up every morning at 5 a.m, I'm going to train, but maybe that's not what fits into your life. You may force yourself to do it for a while, but it never really sits. Maybe you're better at training at night, but you don't figure that out until you start training. And sometimes it's not that you don't like the training, sometimes it's just you're doing it at the wrong time. You're not someone that can train at that time. So I'm not, in my case, I'm not a morning person, but I've figured out that that's what I have to do in order to get it in. And once I've done it, I'm free for the day. I'm home free. And because I'm now starting to feel the results of better flexibility, better strength, just walking up the steps, is easier, those kinds of things, I feel that, I actually feel quite good. So I want to keep it up. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is something with specifically, I think, sports people, is that I've always trained in the past for an end goal, like a season, a tournament, or something of that nature. But then life after sport, you don't always find that activity to keep you interested. So it's basically doing activity for activity's sake, and the motivation behind that. So you and I have had this conversation about that motivation of why we should do it, and people have different motivations. So can you tell us a little bit about what you find with people and their motivations when life after you've figured out you're not an elite athlete, and the purpose for doing it in the first place? Everyone's totally different. I mean, often, some people come to me and yes, they have played a lot of sport in the past. They might have got injured, can't get back into it, and so they may have gained a couple of kilos, or they can't bend down like they could, or they can't stand on one foot like they could. So the goals just change, I think, and the motivation, when they come in, they're obviously motivated by something.
Yes.
And but it's just changed from their sporting aspirations to being able to do the simple things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you've got to tap into. That motivation for their specific thing. Yeah.
Like in my case, my mother just recently passed away, and you're dealing with that whole mortality thing, and you're feeling like crap, and you're thinking, actually, I need to do this for me, for my health and well-being, and that's now become the ability to have better flexibility and better health has become my motivation, and not so much sport. Ironically, now if I take up a bit of sport, I'll potentially be able to do that, a lot better. So we've got our exercise routine going, but that's not the only areas that we can try and find a routine for, is it? Because we've also got food and also potentially sleep and other lifestyle choices. So do people talk to you about those things as well?
They do, but it is a little bit of a battle to get people to realise how important those things are. That, you put petrol in a car, you put food in your body. It's the same thing. We need to fuel ourselves. And, food is just one of the things, like you say. It's sleep, it's stress levels. It's all those things that make up that we only spend 5 hours in the gym, say you go 5 days a week, but the rest of the time we're having such an effect on how that training actually is making an impact in our lives. So if we go to the gym but we don't eat right, we don't sleep right, we're really stressed, our cortisol levels are up, then we're going to find that training in the gym actually means minimal. It might make some changes, but it's amazing how if you get those other things right outside the gym, the training will make such a difference to your life. And it is a little bit of a battle to try and get people to focus on those things, and that's where my training has been, is trying to get people to stay in sport for a long time. Yes, you can exercise, but if you don't do those other things, it's,
But I find that you don't tend to push me about my food and sleep. And yet more recently, because I've been on a regular routine of getting my exercise right and keeping that going, I'm now starting to think about those other things. It's almost like I feel better, but now I actually want to improve the way I look or feel, and therefore what should I be doing to change my diet and having better habits? That's no, I wouldn't say my tactic, but it's like you can't force everything on you all at once. And it was quite tricky for you to get the routine of because you had a lot going on, and I understood that, so I just left you to do it. But you did get the odd training session in, and it's just now that you've got that training program set and you're doing it regularly and you're seeing the results. And now I'm hearing you say that you're starting to think about those other things. We can start thinking about those other things. I probably did mention them, but not, and I just wanted to get you going and get you into a rhythm. And so, it's kind of you come to me with them, but also, I sort of mention them, but we don't sort of push it because I don't want to load you up too much. And it's got to be fun as well. You've got to enjoy it, don't you? And I think that's why in the past I've been to gyms and it's always been this pressure for quick results, and then you get tired of it and you quit, and we play sport for enjoyment. But now it's actually how can I do some exercise that's fun and changing the routines and doing some fun things. I guess obviously there's also people who aren't very mobile, or they're dealing with illness. Tell us a little bit about exercise for people that are dealing with illness or anything of that nature. So do you find that there's some good results that come out of trying to do some sort of fitness each week?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to keep the blood flowing, and however that is with whatever mobility you've got, or obviously we have to watch out for, looking after ourselves if people are coming back from COVID. I have about 6 clients away with that at the moment.
Right.
And they're coming back very slowly. Just if they are in the gym, I'm monitoring them and making sure they're just not overdoing it. Often it's just lung sort of, not being able to breathe. But definitely, resistance training, as we get older, it's really important. So doing some sort of movement, no matter how mobile you are, is so important to keep the blood flowing and things.
All right, Suzanne. Well, look, thanks very much. You've been a great help to me. So if anyone does want to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
You can find me on my website, so www.sus4, it's the number 4, fitness.co.nz, and you can contact me there and have a look to see what I offer, personal training, group sessions. Yeah.
Great stuff. All right, and this is not the last time we're going to hear from you. You're going to be with us regularly on Your Health, and we're going to be inviting different guests in and talking about different health and wellbeing subjects. So thank you very much for your time.
You are most welcome. Thank you.
You can find out more from Suz on susforfitness.co.nz, and you can hear this podcast on talknelson.co.nz or on our Facebook page. And we will speak to you again soon on Your Health. Thanks for listening.
It's the Talk of Nelson.
Talk Nelson Radio.